Donald Trump has been panicking all morning. And as the markets were about to absolutely crash, Donald Trump, in order to manipulate the markets, just came out with a massive lie and claimed that he is in the process of negotiating a deal that could potentially resolve the war with Iran. Donald Trump refuses to say who he's having these discussions with, how they are taking place, what the general framework is, if there are anyone mediating these conversations. Iran instantly has denied that these communications are taking place. They say there's no direct or indirect communications with Donald Trump. But based on Donald Trump's fabrications, the markets, which were set to crash, have, actually stabilized, at least for the time being today. Although, as more information trickles in, that Donald Trump is lying. And Donald Trump just gave a disastrous press conference on the tarmac as he leaves Florida to head back to Washington, D.C. I think it's becoming evident to everybody that yet again, Donald Trump is lying. So remember, Donald Trump gave Iran a 48-hour ultimatum, where he said, if you don't get out of the Strait of Hormuz immediately and allow us to control the Strait of Hormuz, the United States will blow up all of your energy infrastructure in Iran, starting with the biggest one first. Iran responded and said, we reject that ultimatum. If you go after our energy infrastructure, we will be attacking the energy infrastructure, desalination facilities, commerce centers, and any other areas where economic benefits are derived in the Arab nations that surround us. Take our threat very seriously. So, Donald Trump had an option. His deadline for the ultimatum would be due in a few hours. Was he going to bomb the civilian energy infrastructure of Iran, which would be a war crime? Or would he basically do what he always does, where he makes up a lie, says he's involved in negotiations when he really isn't, and then try to get himself out of the mess that he created? Well, early this morning, here's what he posted. I'll show you Trump's post. The Iranian response right away. Because Iran, within 20 minutes, they were on their media channel saying, this is a lie. There's no direct or indirect communications with Donald Trump. Look at the United States backing down. So, let me show you what went down. Trump writes, I'm pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And to be clear, when he talks about military strikes against power plants and energy infrastructure, that is a war crime right there. That is 100% a war crime. So then, Donald Trump reaches out to CNBC and to Fox Business, and he calls them. And he says, to them, Iran badly wants to make a deal. It could happen in 5 days. Why 5 days? Because he doesn't want the markets to crash this week. What happens in 5 days? The markets close. That's when escalation likely would begin again over the weekend. And then he comes back on Monday to manipulate the markets again. So, as Faye Tuck's News explains over here, it's true though. Take note of who Trump is talking to following his Truth Social post, CNBC and Fox. Then, I'll show you this in a moment. Donald Trump says that part of these discussions, he will be jointly controlling the Strait of Hormuz with the new Ayatollah. It will be Trump and the Ayatollah now working together controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which obviously is a bunch of nonsense. So Iran responds right away. They go on their various state media, and they deny that there have been not just productive conversations, they deny there's any direct or indirect communications whatsoever. Iran says, 1. There has been no indirect or direct contact with Trump or his people. 2. Trump is trying to buy time in the Iran war. 3. Trump withdrew from the power plant strike threats after Iran's firm warning that it would strike its neighbors. 4. Trump's comments are part of a psychological warfare campaign against Iran. 5. Hormuz will not return and will never return to pre-war conditions as long as psychological warfare continues. As the Kobayashi letter explains, Iran has entirely denied all of Donald Trump's claims. And as our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipowski, writes, "Never in my life have I believed Iran's state media over our own government until now." That's not being unpatriotic. It's having a brain that functions. And he's quoting Iranian state media saying, "There's been no direct or indirect communications with Trump, not even through intermediaries. Trump retreated after hearing that our targets would be all over the power plants, and we'd be targeting the power plants all over West Asia." Now, the editor-at-large of the Wall Street Journal, Gerard Baker, put out the following message. "The unsettling reality is that with this president," this is the editor-at-large at the Wall Street Journal, "the unsettling reality is that with this president, Americans in wartime are in the unprecedented position of having to suspect that the enemy's version of events is more likely to be true than our own. We have become Baghdad Bob." And specifically, we were seeing oil markets. Oil markets were imploding. I mean, it was going to go to $120, $150 per barrel. We saw the rise of the Treasury note yields, the 10-year and the 20-year reaching unsustainable levels. And then, when Trump made the fabricated announcement, we saw some stabilization taking place as well. Massive market swings taking place this morning. So then Donald Trump was on the tarmac. He's leaving his vacation again at Mar-a-Lago and his Palm Beach Club that we, the taxpayers, fund. And Donald Trump was asked, "So, Iran's foreign ministry says that you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war. What do you say to this?" Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, Iran's foreign ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit. And I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But we have, they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too.
They need to get a better PR person. Again, this would be an SNL skit. This would be parody if it wasn't issues of war and peace, and so freaking dangerous, and people's lives on the line, and our economy on the line. Next, Donald Trump is asked, so you said there's many points of agreement that you've reached with Iran right now. Can you give us just a few? And Donald Trump goes like 15 points. The guy just makes everything up. This is a humiliation ritual that he's putting the United States through right now. Here, play this clip.
You said there's many points of agreement with Iran right now.
Many.
What, can you give us a
Many,
of those?
like 15 points. 15 points.
Iran has said yes.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3. They will never have a nuclear weapon.
They said yes to that?
They've agreed to that.
Next, Donald Trump is asked, so who's Steve Wyckoff speaking with in Iran? You said Jared Kushner and Wyckoff are the ones having these conversations. Who are they speaking to? Because why would anybody want to speak to them? The last time there were conversations with those two, and there were productive mediated discussions by Oman's foreign minister. You then bombed Iran that night when there was a deal that was reached. So who are they speaking with? Donald here. Play this clip.
Who is Steve Witkoff speaking with, Mr. President?
Speaking with in Iran.
A top person. Don't forget, we've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader. We don't.
Not much talk
Well,
about
nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Are these direct?
We have not heard from the son. Every once in a while you'll see a statement made, but we haven't. We don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, I know you deployed.
I don't want him to be killed. Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President, you deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. Nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country. But perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Mr. President.
So then the next question is, all right, so under your deal, who gets to control the Strait of Hormuz? How do you see it going down? And Donald Trump goes, me, I control it. And who may be the Ayatollah? Donald Trump says that he and the Ayatollah will control these straight from moves, folks. I mean, for real, no offense to kindergartners, but if you explained in a very rudimentary fashion what was happening in Iran to a kindergartner, a bad student, kindergartner wouldn't come up with something this outlandish. That's how crazy this is. Here, play this clip.
Thank you.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's
Maybe
in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and
of
the
Strait of
Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out. We are doing so well in Venezuela with oil and with the relationship between the president-elect and us. And maybe we find somebody like that in Iran.
You're going to control the strait with the ayat. What are you even talking about? Next, Donald Trump has asked, okay, so if you say the war is ending in the next 5 days, you still want $200 billion supplemental. That's what you want. And Donald Trump's like, it's always nice to have $200 billion. So you're saying the war is going to end. You're shutting down rural hospitals. Americans can't afford healthcare right now. You could have just funded it with $30 billion, the Obama supplemental insurance plan that people needed. You could fund lots of health insurance for hundreds of billions of dollars. Educational institutions, schools are severely underfunded. I mean, you've gutted the government. You've gutted resources for people. And now you want $200 billion because, as you said, it's always nice to have Democrats inflame it. What the hell are you talking about here? Play this clip.
It's great for all of them.
If the war is ending, do you still need $200 billion?
It's always nice to have. It's always nice to have. It's a very inflamed world, and the Democrats inflame it. Largely the Democrats inflame it. Let me just talk about the others. So ICE has done very well.
Then Donald Trump's like, we're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. We'll keep bombing our little 5 days the markets close. You bomb. Then on Monday, you say, aha, we did a deal again, and manipulate the markets. Don't we all see exactly what is happening here? This is pure market manipulation. And the big point to talk about as well is that systemically, this is killing the United States economy because the conditions haven't changed. The Strait of Hormuz is still controlled by Iran and effectively shut down. The oil shipments are not leaving. A war is still taking place. In fact, this morning, Israel has ramped up, not ramped down, ramped up strikes on Tehran. So that's taking place. Iran continues to strike neighbors, so this is all of Fugazi. This is all one big lie. And here, play this clip.
To get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Who is Steve Witkoff speaking with?
And meanwhile, there's massive natural disasters taking place in Nebraska, in Hawaii right now. Trump doesn't mention any of that. There were 2 people killed overnight, a dozen injured in a collision between a Jazz Airlines flight 646, which is a Canada Air regional jet, and a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport, where we believe that the flight control was understaffed. And you want to comment on that, Donald? The plane crash at LaGuardia Airport. Here, play this clip.
Thank you.
Are these direct shots for Iran?
President on the plane crash that happened there?
Terrible. They made a mistake. It's a dangerous business. That's terrible. Thank you.
And then, here's what Donald Trump says about Joe Kent, one of his top intelligence officials who quit over the war in Iran. Donald Trump attacks the fact that Joe Kent got remarried after his wife died in a terrorist attack in Syria. Always goes after the families first. That's Donald Trump's go-to move right there. And the go-to move is just to lie. And lie in the most ridiculous ways imaginable. Let's play this clip right here.
Talking to Iran?
Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy. If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost. He ran for Congress again, and he lost. I said, you know, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him. He was pretty heartbroken, pretty. But I said, you know, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice. Call him up, give him a job in the White House. Smart. They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me, you know? Being a nice guy doesn't pay off too much.
Mr. President.
Think of it. He loses twice in Congress, ran not very good campaigns, should have won, but he loses twice. How do I get him? I have my people call him, because I didn't deal with him for the most part. I saw him a couple of times, but I never dealt with him at all. I had no idea his ideology was left or right, whatever it is. I can say this. He said very strongly that Iran is not a threat. Iran's been a threat for 47 years, and there's not a country in the world that doesn't agree with me on that. So I take this guy, Joe Kent.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you all think. Hit subscribe.